All right, hey everyone, Jeff here at StopThePirates.blogspot.com, 5/26/2020, and everybody's heard about the Bill Gates, 666 vaccine and the 666 coronavirus, where they patented it. They patent the virus, of course, so they can make a vaccine for it and sell it for gazillions of dollars. But here's another 666. In the year 1666 in London, during the Black Plague, the Great Fires of London, Parliament enacted an act behind closed doors called the Cestui Que Vie Act 1666. The act being debated, the Cestui Que Act, was to subrogate the rights of men and women, meaning all men and women were declared dead, lost at sea, beyond the sea. Back then, operating in Admiralty law, the law of the sea. So they were basically considered to be lost at sea. Major fire, they didn't know who was dead, who was alive, so they just took everybody's stuff and put it into one big trust, and that's called the Cestui Que Trust Act. And that's where all your stuff lies today, until you tell them, hey, I'm still alive. I'm alive. I'm here for my stuff. I'm here for my estate. It's easy to do. The state of London took custody of everybody and their property into a trust. The state became the trustee of the husband, holding all titles to the people and property until a living man comes back to reclaim those titles and can also claim damages. And that's reclaim using a UCC1 and a PPSA, Personal Property Securities Act. The rule of the use of capital letters used in a name. When capital letters are reused anywhere in a name, this always refers to a legal entity or fiction, a company or corporation, and there's no exceptions to that. So every piece of mail you get in the mail from any kind of public corporation or entity is your name in all capital letters. It's not you. It's this dead entity that they pulled into this Cestui Que Trust Act. John Doe or Doe, Jane, passport, driver's license, marriage certificate, and birth certificate. Cestui Que Trust, it's pronounced setakay, common term in New Zealand and Australia, or strawman. Common term in the US or Canada is a legal entity or fiction created and owned by the government whom created it, and owned by the government. They own it. It's not you. It's their legal fiction. But they did it kind of sneakily because they didn't tell you that they were doing it. And you figure, well, it's because it's the same name as your name that it's you, but it's not. Legally, we are considered to be a fiction, a concept or idea expressed as a name, a symbol. That legal person has no consciousness. It is a juristic person, ENS LEGIS, a name, a word written on a piece of paper. This traces back to 1666. London is a state, just like Vatican is a state, just like Washington, D.C. is a state. The Crown is an unincorporated association. Why unincorporated? It's private. The Temple Bar is in London. Every lawyer called to the bar swears allegiance to the Temple Bar. And you can't get called without swearing this allegiance. The Crown already owns North America and everything in it. Your only way out is to reclaim your dead entity, strawman, that the Crown created, become the trustee of the Cestui Que Trust, and remove yourself from the Admiralty law that holds you in custody. So when London burned, the subrogation of men's and women's rights occurred. The responsible act passed, the Cestui Que Vie Trust Act of 1666, meant all men and women of UK were declared dead or lost beyond the seas. The state took everybody and everybody's property into trust. The state takes control until a living man or woman comes back and claims their titles by proving they are alive, and claims for damages can be made. This is why you always need representation when involved in legal matters, because you're dead. The legal fiction is a construct on paper and a state in trust. When you get a bill or summons from court, it's always in capital letters, similar to tombstones and graveyards. Capital letters signify death. They're writing to the dead legal fiction. A legal fiction was created when someone informed the government that there was a new vessel in town based upon your birth. Your mother did that, unfortunately. She informed, look at your birth certificate, they'll sign, informant is where your mother signed. Birth certificates are issued at birth, just as ships are given birth certificates, B-E-R-T-H. Your mother has a birth canal, just like a ship. All this information relates to how the general public are still legally tied. Through admiralty law, through this ancient legal construct, we can be easily controlled. Learning about your legal fiction helps you to unlock yourself. Otherwise, you are just a vessel floating on the sea of commerce. It is possible to be free from financial stress and debt. Parents are tricked into registering the birth of their babies. In about 1837, the Births, Deaths and Marriages Act was formed in the UK, and the post of Register General was established. His job was to collect all the data from the churches which held the records of birth. Regis, when we talk about registering, Regis, from Queen or Crown. All people are seen to be in custody of the Crown. This allows people to function in commerce and to accept the benefits provided by the state. So we are in custody worldwide, and it's many more obvious than it is right now, is it? Worldwide, under the International Monetary Fund, the majority of people are fed, sheltered, and provided for. However, now it is the system that is benefiting while many are suffering. We're poorly fed, poorly housed, the water is contaminated. Many people are now getting sick and dying as a result. Not to mention that as people evolve, they now seek to be independent of any system that seeks to control or oppress and harms the earth. And that is all taking place on. We have legally elected representatives. We have to understand who we are as men and women and how we can relate in the system. The City of London is the center for markets where merchants work. Then there is mercantile law. It comes from admiralty. Look at the symbols in the City of London that relate to admiralty. I'm not even joking, but the City of London, there's what's called the Lord Mayor, and he literally wears a tri-quartered pirate's hat. It's funny. The national banks are not our banks. The private shareholders from the private banks own the banks. It's all private, not public, as we are led to believe. The word of also means without, e.g. the bank without England. Private banks issue private currency. With World War I, a change happened where money was not backed by gold or silver anymore. Pay back the creditors anymore. It is now based on people's labor. People are now pledged to the IMF as the surety to pay back the creditors in the global bankruptcy. Men and women are not bankrupt. They are the only source of credit. The public is bankrupt. Regarding the currency that gets issued by the Bank of England, people are the gold or the treasure. The government issues bonds and treasury bills that are bought by investors. The money goes back into the economy in order to pay for the people to build things, e.g. Olympic stadiums, football stadiums, and whatever. However, the people are paying taxes for the privilege of using someone else's currency and paying back the principal and the interest on the original loan that was given against the treasury bonds, bills, and notes. Is a private corporation that will own the Olympic Stadium, but be responsible for running it, be able to sell commercial rights, yet the people are actually the ones who own it and should be profiting from it. However, principal and interest is coming through the people in order to raise the money. So where you have commerce and money, you also have justice. You need to understand the bankruptcy before you can understand the judiciary. You need to accept the bankruptcy. We have accepted the claim to accept the summons. There is an obligation to accept any liability which has been created. All you can do is accept the bankruptcy. And by becoming a U.S. citizen, you're obligated to do that. We're operating in admiralty. A not guilty plea dishonors the bankruptcy. So we're all told this, you're innocent until proven guilty. That's not true. All crimes are commercial. They all have a a monetary value attached to them, and it's your obligation to accept it for value and just set it off and discharge the debt. It needs to be accepted for value. Barristers and solicitors and lawyers making a living out of creating controversy. By creating a controversy, you become liable for the case. Honor and dishonor. To remain in honor, you have to accept a claim and settle it. Then you add conditions. I accept on proof of claim and proof of loss. This gives the liability back to them. The legal fiction is always guilty. Only in the high courts can the real man or woman appear. Games are played on courts. Hence the name court is a game with actors acting on acts. It has to be treated as a game and just a business. Courtroom dramas are misinformation. In the public, we are operating in bankruptcy and you receive benefits. It takes a lot of time, effort, and study to use these tools. You have to be prepared to go fully through the process, get the right tool out of your toolbox at the right time. People need to learn how to act as creditors. And so in summary, money is backed by labor. It's not printed out of thin air. We cannot, and that's why things are getting really, really restrictive right now, because they're clamping down. We cannot exchange it fairly for gold or silver. Capitalization, the name means a dead entity, a legal fiction. Know who you are. You are not the straw man of the dead fictitious entity. Learn how to become a creditor in commerce. And by doing that, you can go to stopthepirates.blogspot.com for more information. Thank you and have a great day.